These are the stories of my mom and dad. Now you might ask, what makes their stories so important? While that answer may be obvious to me, as I am their daughter, it isn't so obvious to everyone else. Here in the United States, they may be considered just two more Mexican immigrants, but their stories tell so much more. I hope to showcase them how I view them through my eyes, as my parents, and as any other human with dreams and hopes, despite of something as simple as a title of citizenship. My dad, Alejandro, was born in a small ranch in Los Leones, Chihuahua on October 1st, 1973. Fun fact, this baby picture we have of my dad is literally the oldest photo we own. Then, less than 200 miles away, 6 years later, on August 5th, my mama Susana was born. Sadly, as was common in Mexico, my parents were born into lower-class, single-mom households. The fact that they had huge families also did not help with the lack of resources. My dad was the sixth child out of his 11 siblings, and my mom was the fifth out of her 7 siblings. My paternal grandma was not always a single mom. 3 months after she had her last baby girl, my paternal grandpa died of a heart attack. My dad got to meet and spend time with his dad, so when he passed away, he was devastated. But because he was a boy, he had to step up in the family and not show any emotions, as it was considered a weakness. As in many cultures, Mexico is no stranger to gender roles, and sadly, the term machismo, where the men were in charge of everything and had to act like it, is still a believed idea nowadays. On the other hand, my mom never got to truly meet her dad, as he walked out on their family when she was still too small to remember. She never got the details about him from her mom, so that side of her story has always been cloudy. My dad had to leave school when he was just in la primaria, which is roughly the 6th grade. In fact, whenever my brother or I would complain about going to school, he would love to tell us about how he had to wake up at 4 a.m. and walk 1 hour every single day just to get to school on time, no matter the weather. Yes, even in the snow. He would love to tell us about how easy we had it. His family struggled a lot, even getting food on the table, so him and most of his brothers had to leave school. When he dropped out, he had to take on more work and responsibilities in his family's rancho. Because of their low economic situation, his 2 oldest brothers turned 18. They decided to leave to the United States to find better jobs. They knew that they wouldn't be able to find that anywhere in Mexico. In the early 1990s, it was much easier to get into the United States with a work or travel visa. There wasn't as many restrictions or long wait lists. Since my dad then was still too young to go with them, he stayed. And when his brothers started sending money back to their mom, it felt like a fortune. My dad started to dream about going to the United States and also being successful. But by the time he became 18, things were getting more serious at the border between Mexico and the United States. He tried to wait it out, but there was no hope for things to get better. So, when he was a little bit older, his brothers decided to help him get a coyote, men who worked to get Mexican people over the border into the United States in discreet ways. My dad made it safely to the United States and stayed with his 2 brothers for the first few years he was there. My mom was one of the lucky ones who got accepted for a work visa to come into the United States. Before this, when my mom turned 15, she wanted to continue her education, but she also knew that her mom did not have enough money to continue putting her through school. She left her mom's house and moved in with her older sister, who lived in Juarez, Chihuahua. Both of my parents' experiences having to leave education at such a young age is something that still impacts them. They recognize how important and helpful it is to be able to get an education, and since a young age have pushed my brother and I to focus on school as much as we can. especially because they believe that education equals opportunity. During her time in Juarez, she found a job in las maquinarias, which were machinery plants. She would help put back together machines that would break. A lot of the time, some of these machines would be music players from the United States. Through these music players, my mom was introduced to English music that to this day she still listens to. She began to think about going to the United States, especially because it was almost common knowledge that people made more money working there than in Mexico. It also helped that her second oldest sister had moved to the United States a year prior and would tell her all these great things about the place, while she was in Mexico getting tired of the conditions she was living in. One of the biggest things that bothered her about Juarez was the horrible public transportation that she had to take to get to work every day. So originally, she only wanted to go to the United States to spend enough time there working just so she could save up for a car and go back to Juarez. Then, one day, her job let their employees know that through their company, they could apply for a work visa into the United States. My mom quickly took the chance and got accepted for her visa. And once she got to the United States, she lived with their older sister who had already settled down there. Both of my parents landed in Denver, Colorado. Many people today even joke that it is the new capital of Chihuahua because of just how many Chihuahuans live here today. Which is why it's also funny that my parents ended up meeting in Denver, despite living less than 200 miles away from each other in Chihuahua. They met their mutual friends and hit it off. My mom ended up getting pregnant with me and eventually my brother. Because of this, my parents decided that it was best for them to stay in the United States. Giving their children a better life than the ones they had then became the most important thing on their agenda. Currently, they have been here for 19 years now and have not been able to go back to their homeland even once. While my dad was lucky enough that his mom lives part-time in the United States and part-time in Mexico, so he always gets to see her. In fact, most of his family currently lives in the United States and in Denver, Colorado. Except ironically, his two oldest brothers, who were the first ones to come to the United States. My mom, however, never got to see her mom again, as she passed away in 2013. It was never their original plan to stay here that long, but because of the lack of opportunity in Mexico, they recognized that the United States was the best place for my brother and I, and honestly also them, as there isn't even much left to go back to in Mexico. All my life, I have watched my parents work day and night just so we can live comfortably. Currently, my dad works as a contractor in his own painting company called, very uniquely, Alejandro's Painting. And my mom works cleaning houses. These obviously aren't their dream jobs or where they even hope to end up in life. And while they're grateful that they're living better than they ever did in Mexico, my parents didn't get to accomplish a lot of the things they had wanted to because their idea of the United States was very different than the reality. While yes, the United States is a safer place with more opportunities and more resources, it isn't the perfect place everyone makes it out to be. My parents will never have a reliable job, retirement fund, unemployment benefits, etc. There are millions of immigrants in the United States with a similar story to that of my parents. Specifically, there are 47 million immigrants in the United States, which means 47 million stories to be told. Yet, a lot of the political ideas around immigration paint such a negative image around immigrant people without realizing they are just normal humans trying to survive. They would give anything to go back home, but will never truly be able to. And so that's how I see my parents, as more than just two Mexican immigrants.